This is Outperform Yesterday, presented by Kayaks. All right, we've got ourselves some winter go home hockey out in Milan. Team USA is set for what people are calling its hardest game of the Olympics against Sweden in the quarterfinals. Jim Cerny, executive editor of Forever Blueshirts, is on to talk about the pressure for Team USA to advance against Sweden. Jim, thanks for hopping on with us. Let's get straight to it because puck drop is in a couple of hours. Team USA absolutely ran the table in the round robin. Sweden is by far the toughest team that they're going to face up to this point. How does Team USA avoid the upset and keep things rolling?
One thing's for sure, you use the word upset. It wouldn't be a massive upset if Sweden wins this game, right? You know, they're chock full of NHL talent and NHL stars, just like the United States is. But I get the point. The United States is favored. You know, they didn't have to play the qualifier game that Sweden did. So I think the key here for the United States is jump on Sweden early. You know, Sweden played yesterday. The United States is the better rested team. Hop on them, be physical, but be smart. Stay out of the penalty box because the Sweden power play can crush you, right? With all that talent. But be physical because we saw in the prelims when Sweden lost to Finland, a big reason why they lost is because Finland was so physical against them. So skill and physicality are key for the United States, but be smart, stay out of the box.
I mean, like you said, it's going to be a competitive one. It's probably going to go down to the end. These type of games and high pressure moments, the margin for error is super thin. So who do you think on Team USA needs to really step it up this game?
Wow, great question. I'm going to give you a little coach speak here. I'm sure Mike Sullivan would say, you know who needs to step it up? Every single guy that's in uniform. So the 20 skaters and the two goalies, everybody needs to step it up because guess what? The United States hasn't played their best game yet because they haven't had to. In the prelim round, they were so vastly superior to the three teams they played. And that includes Germany, which had Leon Draisaitl and Tim Stützle. You know, those teams couldn't compare to the depth and skill that the United States throws at you. So I don't think the U.S. has come anywhere near playing their best hockey yet. They are going to have to be at that level here against Sweden. Sweden is that good. They are, in fact, right in line with the United States, I think. So I think the simple answer is exactly what Coach Mike Sullivan would tell you. Everybody needs to step it up here. I will say that if Matthew Tkachuk breaks through and scores a goal, that could be an inspirational lift for the United States. So if you're looking for one guy who could set the tone physically, and then if he could pop his first goal of this tournament so far at the Olympics, Matthew Tkachuk would be my one guy. But the real answer is everybody needs to be at their best against Sweden because they haven't had to be yet.
Well, we could always rely on one of the Kachuk brothers stepping up big in games like this, but who do you think will be this game's hero?
That's another great question, Brandon. Here, let's start with Sweden. I think if Sweden wins, here's a little bit of an underrated guy, even though he leads Sweden in scoring in this tournament, is Lucas Raymond. When you think of Sweden, you think of maybe some of the bigger names. Lucas Raymond's a pretty darn good young player. He's got 8 points in 4 games, but only one goal. But he just creates for his line mates. He's a guy to really watch there. If they're going to have a hero, he might be it. I think on the United States side, I think that line of Jack Eichel, flanked by the Kachuk brothers. I'm going to cheat here and I'm going to call them the heroes. I think they need to be the top line. The focus is going to be on Austin Matthews and his line. But I think if the Eichel and the Kachuk brothers can kind of take over this game, I think they could be the heroes on the U.S. side. If you want a little bit of an underdog pick, keep your eye on Zach Werenski, United States defenseman. He's been creating a lot of offense, scored a big goal against Germany. He's a guy, too, at an elite level from the defense position that I think could be a hero for the United States.
You mentioned Mike Sullivan earlier. So now that you got your Mike Sullivan coach's hat on, do you see him coaching this team, Team USA, differently than the way that he coaches the Rangers?
So, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of similar structures that he brings here to the table. The big difference is look at the talent he has at his disposal here. It's a lot different with the Rangers. Just take this as an example. With the Rangers, JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck are top 6 forwards on the New York Rangers, as well they should be. On Team USA, they're 4th line forwards. Trocheck's playing less than 10 minutes a night. He's a specialty guy, win faceoffs, be on the penalty kill. Same thing with JT Miller. But that speaks to not the level of player Trocheck or Miller are. It speaks to the depth of talent that the United States has. So I think you can coach a little bit differently when you have that much skill, at your disposal.
All right, back to USA Sweden. We need your prediction, Jim, and why.
Ooh, another tough question. So I think the United States is good enough to win here. I think not having to play the qualifier game that Sweden had to play yesterday is an advantage. I think the United States needs to jump on Sweden early. I think it's going to be a 1-goal game. I really like the Swedes. The difference to me is I think the United States is better in goal. Connor Hellebuck has been better in the tournament. He's got a better history. You would argue, even though he hasn't had a great season in the NHL with the Winnipeg Jets, he's had the better career than anybody that Sweden can put between their pipes. I think at the end of the day, United States wins this one 4-3.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thanks for hopping on with us. Puck drops in a couple of hours. It's going to be a great one.
Yeah, enjoy it, Brandon. Thank you.